Well, here's something that's way higher class than what I usually have on this coffee table. This is one of the cameras from the TV station. And the reason it's here with me today is because tomorrow, as of shooting this video, I'm going to be using this camera to cover my first news story for the TV station. I'm going to be covering the Pride Walk that's happening here tomorrow morning. Not a huge deal. Get some shots of the people walking down the street, get some shots of them convening at the end in the park, interview a couple of people on camera, which another volunteer is going to help me do. I'm going to be behind the camera. She's going to be in front of the camera holding the boom mic, asking the questions to the interviewees. And yeah, it should be a fun time. And it's my first time, handling one of these cameras all by myself, which is a little bit intimidating. But I think it's going to be really fun. So I thought I would just briefly give you an overview of this camera as long as I have some alone time with it here. And I'll show you some test footage from it as well. Now, some of you might be asking, and I wouldn't blame you. You might say, ooh, you've got this nice fancy television camera here with you. Why not use it to make some YouTube videos? Nope, sorry, not gonna happen, because that would be inappropriate use of station equipment. I would if I could, but I can't, so sorry about that. But I will show you some test footage that I shot yesterday. And I will briefly turn the camera on and do some recording just right here at the coffee table so you can see what it would look like if I had an $8,000 television grade camera for my YouTube videos. But we'll take a look here. So this is a Canon XF305 and it's about 10 years old. The station's had it since it was new. I believe the station did buy it new. And we have two of these. About 10 years old. It's a 3 CMOS camera. It's got 3 CMOS sensors. CMOS sensors replaced CCDs about 10, 11, 12 years ago. So this is actually pretty early for a professional camera to have CMOS sensors instead of CCDs, which is pretty cool. This rectangular lens hood comes off if you want. You got your focus ring. There is autofocus as well, of course. You've got a zoom ring in addition to a zoom rocker here and a low speed zoom rocker right here, which is very useful for doing gentle, nice and gentle push-ins and pull-outs. And then you have your iris ring right here, and there is automatic iris, of course. We've got our neutral density filter, which is what you use if you're basically outdoors in the sun or under really strong studio lighting in some cases. And this puts a filter in front of the camera to just darken the image, allow the iris to open up a little bit more. Buttons for autofocus on demand, auto or manual focus, auto or manual iris. You can choose whether to use the zoom ring or the another big thunder, or the zoom rocker. Automatic gain control on or off, automatic white balance on or off. Little LCD status display right there. You have physical wheels to adjust the audio level, or you can have it set to automatically maintain the audio level. And you do have an on-screen menu and on-screen status displays and stuff like that. There's your white balance controls. You have 2 manual settings that you can program and switch between, and then you have a preset option. Your image sensor gain. So of course low, medium, high. The higher you turn the gain, the better light sensitivity you have, but at the expense of image quality. In a professional setting, low gain is the only appropriate option, with some great exceptions. Actually, a couple weeks ago, we did a live broadcast of the Grand March for the high school here. And we did not realize that they were doing it with the lights out. They turned the lights out as the show was beginning. They kept the lights on all the way until the show actually began, and it kind of caught us by surprise. And not realizing this, we had no choice but to flip all the way to high gain and crank the iris all the way up. At least on this particular camera. I was on this particular camera for that live broadcast, and I was on high gain with the iris all the way open, 1/60th shutter speed. That's the only appropriate shutter speed in professional applications, pretty much. And she gave it all she had and produced a decent picture. You could see everything. Like I said, you end up with a tiny bit of graininess, but on a professional grade camera like this with 3 CCDs, it's not that bad. When I do the demo footage here at the coffee table, it will have to be on high gain. I might as well keep it there. Power control, you can go into a media mode to view the clips you've recorded right on the camcorder. The camcorder does not have an onboard speaker. It has a headphone jack that you have to use. And for storage, this thing has 2 compact flash slots. Where you can store or insert your compact flash cards. I don't know if it'll take micro drives. Seeing as there's no extra height, I would assume not. No point. Even the largest micro drives made would give you like 5 minutes of recording time on this thing. And there's also an SD card slot. I don't know if that's used for recording or if it's for something else, like loading firmware onto the camera. I don't know. But it's there. I haven't tested it. 2 XLR jacks for the audio input, in addition to a built-in stereo microphone. The new Sony cameras we bought don't have an internal microphone, but this does. It is raining very hard. Power might go out here. Or I might get the pants scared off me by thunder. You have switches here to choose for each channel, whether you're using the respective internal microphone or XLR jack. Your hand grip, this is a handheld camera. Your battery goes in here. There's what a battery looks like. Gets you about 3 hours of continuous use. And as you can see, there's still more space in there, so you could get a bigger battery for longer recording time. Lots of jacks on the back. You've got a composite AV output, which is kind of funny. Mini USB port, you can use this to transfer data from the cards. HDMI output. Headphone jack. And below that, the remote jack for having like a remote zoom. That's what we use on these. We have a very zoom remote zoom controller. That is a component output that you'd put a breakout cable into. SDI out, HD SDI, very important for professional use. We have Genlock input, a time code output, SMPTE time code. And then an output called Video 2, but I don't know if that's SDI or composite. Could be either. Don't know. There you go. So although this is a portable camera, we do use this in the studio as well. Of course, now that we've gone high definition back in the winter time, we no longer use our big Hitachi Z4000W studio cameras. So now these Canons and our 2 newer Sonys, There are studio cameras, even though they're portable cameras, but they work just fine as studio cameras. Absolutely beautiful television studio grade picture produced by this camera, which you'll see later with the test footage I took outdoors. On the top here, you've got your recording start-stop control, which you also have on the back right there. You have transport controls for when you're playing back video, an accessory shoe, and a display flips out like this, and you do have a color viewfinder. Turn the unit on here. Zoom out. Picture is very dark. There, that's irised up all the way, just barely enough light sensitivity for this indoor lighting. And you get a lot of information on the display. Continuously running time code. So this is a 1080i camcorder. Your choice of recording modes are 1080i, so that's 1920 by 1080 at 60 fields per second, 1080p at 30 frames per second, or 720p at 60 frames per second. We have a 1080i workflow, so that's what this camera is set to, and that's what I recorded my test footage with. And so, for the purposes of this YouTube video, I've taken my copy of the footage I recorded and I've used Handbrake to deinterlace it into 60 frames per second. And go in the media mode. There's some of the clips I took. If I press the slot select button, it goes to the other CF card. There's some clips on there. So let me put this camcorder down, pick this guy up, and I'll show you what this channel would look like if it were taped using an $8,000 television grade camcorder. Alright, here we are. There's the camcorder that you were just watching from. And like I said, this thing, of course, professional camcorders are not meant to have to try and get light in a, dim environment like normal indoor lighting. But that's what I'm sort of forcing this camcorder to do. I've got the image sensor gain on high and the iris open all the way. If I needed any more light, the only way I'd be able to get it would be to slow down the shutter speed slower than 1/60th of a second. But I think this is just about adequate enough. But here we are. This is what my setting here looks like taped on this camcorder. And I have no idea how these microphones will be picking up my voice because they are pointed away from me. And then of course the slow zoom control looks like this. Very nice, very useful feature. The Sony's, it's another thing the newer, much more expensive Sony cameras we bought don't have. They don't have a slow zoom control. They have a variable, zoom rocker, but it's so touchy that it's really hard to get a smooth push in without it being jerky. And I know this from experience. These older Canons, way nicer for getting nice, gentle push-ins, which is a really important skill in television. There we are anyway. Now, the question is, if I had the opportunity, would I like a camera like this to do YouTube with? And the answer is a resounding no! And the reason is because this camera is way too unwieldy for handheld use. It's really only meant to go on a tripod. It is absolutely, you can absolutely handhold it. It's designed for handholding, but it's not ideal for it. This, my old DV camcorder, is pretty much the largest, heaviest camcorder that I would want to have to try and do YouTube with. And this camera is way bigger and heavier. You might even be able to tell I'm kind of struggling, shaking all over the place. We're at weird angles here because it's just so hard to adjust your angles. So yeah, no, this, a 3C, I mean, they make smaller, lighter 3CMOS camcorders, and one of those would be amazing for this channel, but this big professional grade behemoth, too much camcorder for the purposes of this YouTube channel. But that's one of the, it's a really interesting thing to learn, right? You never know that kind of stuff until you have the opportunity to actually try it. So there you go. The test footage I recorded, I was asked to get some footage around town of the 2 international borders that are here in town, the US-Canada borders, for future use in the news. So yesterday I went around town, took this camera around, took the tripod around. I was given a tripod with this camera as well, professional tripod. It's in the car, or I'd show it to you. But I took this around town, got some shots of the border, the 2 borders that are in town here, and I got some other shots on the street and, you know, shots of the river and stuff like that. I just got some random shots. You know, it was also practice for me to handling this camera by myself, figure all the settings out and everything on my own. You know, because tomorrow morning with the Pride Walk, I will be on my own. It is me and this camera, and we have to work together and get some beautiful shots of the Pride Walk tomorrow morning. So I wanted to go out with this thing beforehand, get some practice shots, make sure I knew everything I was doing, make sure to make any notes if I made any errors, any shots turned out badly. But as luck would have it, all the shots I took are freaking beautiful. And they were so nice, in fact, I thought, geez, you know, it was sort of an overcast day. I was running around town, got some shots of the border, some cars, you know, coming up and then leaving, and then some shots on the street and some nature stuff. I'm like, geez, this stuff would make a nice interlude. So that's exactly what I did. So without further ado, here is my little interlude I made. I call it Border Interlude because that's pretty much what it is. It's mostly shots of the international borders. And I set it to some music, and I really like it. So here you go. And there you go. Just wanted to give you a quick look at a professional television grade camcorder. Oh, and I think the power might go out here. My UPS just kicked in its voltage regulator. Yep, the lights are flickering a little bit. Ooh, and there's some thunder. Good time to make a YouTube video. Well, there you go. Wish me luck on my little endeavor. Actually, likely by the time this video gets posted to YouTube, it'll already be all done and over with, and I probably had a great time. But there you go. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.